welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Back here where we need ya. Back here where we need ya. Yeah, the keys in my lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back. All right, give it a stretch. Hopefully that last work session was a productive one for you. For me, kind of. I'm doing like some random research on some things. So I'll count it as a break even. All right, so for this break session, I want to take a look at, so first I came across it on Twitter. I was like looking up, I think some stuff for the radio show. And I came across this Google for Developers tweet, and I had to deal with some stuff that I was kind of like into and researching on my own. So I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. Let me zoom in a little bit. So a little bit. All right. So I'll post a link directly to this tweet so you can check it out. It'll be next to the recording on the video on untilit.works. So you can check it out for yourself. All right, cool. So yeah, so Google for Developers. Build secure agentic workflows without iframe lag. All right. Combining agent to user interface, so A to UI, which is the thing I've been looking at for a minute. And I think I built like a demo. It didn't really work too well because it was like, what was it? Like the version was like 0.6 or 0.5. Like it was early. And so since then, they've done more things. But all right, so combining agent to UI interface or user interface and model context protocol apps, MCP apps, which I built one for my job to show like some charts. It's pretty cool. Balances native rendering with custom iframe flexibility. And they have this link here. So A to UI over MCP for native layout, MCP apps in A to UI for stateful modules, A to UI in MCP apps for branded app experiences. So it's like the three different like things you can do with it. The use cases, like combinations, right? And then they have this thing here. So they have this link. So they have this video. So I figured I'd take a look at it. And so A to UI, the agent to user interface plus MCP, model context protocol apps. And so I think I spoke about it here before. So MCP apps are basically like iframes in your like agent chat apps or what have you, right? So your agent apps. So if you wanted to show like, because previously it was just all text, right? But if you wanted to, like in my use case, I wanted to be able to show charts. And so I created MCP apps chart so that people, when they're, so again, I work at Vonage. So let's say a manager is asking a developer like, hey, what is our usage of, I don't know, SMS over the past month, right? So instead of the developer having to go and look that stuff up, like go to another dashboard, in their IDE chat app or whatever it is, they can say, hey, what is the usage case of SMS for the past week? And what the thing I built, it'll go into your dashboard, pull out information, right? Because we have some tools and things in there, and it's able to call the tools, get the information, and then show it as a chart. You can then download or just copy and paste into a document or whatever. And so that way, a little bit easier. So that's my use case for using an MCP app, right? And so A to UI, I think we might have spoken about this before, is basically having the agent. So instead of having like that iframe, the agent would know, all right, so I'm going to just create this chart and then show it here instead of like having it be in a UI, in an iframe kind of thing. So it had created in the thing. But the A to UI, when I was dealing with it, it wasn't there yet. And so hopefully it's getting there. So we'll see. All right. So let's look at this video here. A to UI plus MCP apps, combining the best of declarative and custom agentic UIs. All right, dope. So here we go. So we have MCP calculator. I summon a calculator app served from an MCP server over A to UI. All right. And then open calculator from MCP server, open Pong from HTML file. Okay, let's just take a look. Is this playing? Oh, I just hate Twitter or X. I like Twitter. I hate X. All right, are you going to play or what are we doing here? What is the point of this? What is the point of having? Okay, this is terrible. I'm just going to refresh this. It's not playing. What is up with this? Oh, I really hate X. This is so terrible. Whatever. Okay. Oh, whatever. So let's go take a look at this link, which I believe I had that already open because I looked at it before. Is it the same one? Yeah, the same one. All right, cool. So I'm going to post a link. Let me share this tab instead. So this is the blog post that they linked to in that X. What do they call them? Like, they're tweets before. They're in X. What are they? I don't care. Whatever. Post. Whatever. All right. So here we go. All right. Shout out to the Google A2UI team. Ido Solomon, MCP Apps co-creator. All right. Liad Youssef, MCP Apps co-creator. All right. Dope. So A2UI plus MCP Apps, combining the best of declarative and custom agentic UIs. All right. So I figured we'll take a look at this really quick. Manage chaos, a perfect container for all that expression. All right. Interesting. Okay. A2UI. Yeah. This is like the logo, if I remember correctly, for A2UI. And then we have a whole bunch of random MCP app, just stuff here. All right. Cool. All right. So as agentic workflows evolve beyond simple text exchanges to rich UIs, developers face a persistent trade-off between deep customization and seamless integration. So yeah, so like I said before, it was just text back and forth. And now you have like UIs. So again, for the MCP app that I created, it shows the charts of some data. Now, so instead of just like reading out the chart and text, you can see it in a form like UI as a text. Instead of seeing it, the data as text, you can see the data in the form of a chart. So that was pretty cool. Until now, developers often had to choose between two distinct paths. So Model Context Protocol MCP apps offer creative freedom within an iframe using standard web technologies. So it says, again, like with the charts that I did. However, this reliance on iframes for these applications can lead to a fragmented user experience, characterized by aesthetic inconsistencies like clashing design systems or redundant scroll bars. I can see that. While simultaneously presenting notable hurdles in both computational performance and security encapsulation. Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because you're now in an iframe, which is like a whole separate thing. And then it could be running its own stuff. I could see that. Agent to user interface, A2UI, utilizes a declarative framework. Instead of sending raw HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, A2UI employs a JSON payload to define what to render, allowing the host application to handle the presentation through its native components. The host application then securely converts this data into its own native UI elements. So the actual application has a set of UI elements. And so you get the data in the form of a JSON payload, like it says there. And then your agent or your host application then decides what UI to generate to show that data. So while this ensures consistent design and enhanced security, developers are restricted to a specific component library. So if I'm sending down chart information, and if the host application doesn't have a chart UI element, then it's not going to work. So this method provides a performance, secure, and integrated experience, particularly for structured data like charts. Okay, there you go. And forms, but struggles with complex client-side logic. Okay. And they link to a2ui.org. So let's take a look at that. So this is the thing I've been kind of keeping an eye on, this site here. I'm going to post a link to this as well, since I'm showing it here. So again, it'll be next to the recording on the video on untilit.works. And so, oh, wait, they got a 1.0 candidate. All right. So so it must have been 0.8. I think I said 0.7. So yeah, so like 0.8, I was trying stuff out. And I was like, oh, this is not ready. But then they changed it to 0.9. So I don't think I've tried here. So I'm probably just going to go for the candidate and see what we got there. I'm saying, so it was pretty cool. Like they had a like a restaurant finder app thing, and so it'd bring down the JSON payload of like the different restaurants, and then the host application decided how it wanted to create those cards and like where to put the different elements in the card. Oh yeah, here we go. Quick start restaurant finder demo. And there's like a theater thing here. And so what I liked about it is using like web components. Well, there's a Flutter. If I remember, there's like a Flutter thing. Yeah, here you go. Flutter. And then Lit, which again is the web component stuff. There's Angular itself has its own renderer, and there's like a markdown renderer. So that's pretty dope. And so, and then there's this company Copilot Kit where they have some stuff like you can use their components, like pre-made components. A lot of cool stuff. But let me get back to the actual article here. All right, so we got model context protocol, MCP apps, and the A2UI. We spoke about these. All right, cool. So to address these trade-offs, we are sharing 3 architectural patterns with implementation guides and sample code to demonstrate seamless integration of A2UI and MCP apps. So it's not like you have to use them separately. There's ways of using them together. That's pretty dope. We're considering making a MCP extension to support A2UI. Oh, making these patterns easier to adopt. Let us know if you're interested. That's pretty cool. And they have like a, okay, like a GitHub discussion. All right, so if you're interested, you can go ahead and let your thoughts be known there. So now integrating these 2 approaches allow developers to leverage native component rendering for standard UI elements while reserving custom iframe embedding for highly tailored complex experiences. All right, okay. So pattern 1. So, okay, so this is one or the other. So using A2UI over MCP servers. All right. So they say servers instead of like apps. I wonder if there's, all right, here we go. So serving A2UI over MCP servers allows developers to add rich, natively rendered UIs to their tools as an alternative to MCP apps. It pairs the simplicity of widely adopted MCP tool connectivity with native A2UI rendering. Okay, I'm hoping they have examples. This approach lowers the barrier to entry for developers adopting generative UI. It provides the benefits of dynamic UI without the overhead of building a full agent-to-agent A2A architecture or dealing with complex discovery mechanisms. All right, so you can go read more about this stuff here. See in action. Below is a demo application that is powered by A2UI over MCP architecture. Oh, when they say over, I don't think they mean like instead of. It's like it's on top of the MCP architecture. Like, so it's actually like physically over it. So, okay. All right, that makes more sense. The application consists of 2 panels. The left panel contains a simple form that allows users to select cooking style and protein type, and the right panel displays a recipe card. Users select the cooking style and protein types in the left panel and click on the Get Recipe button to fetch a new recipe card to be displayed in the right panel. So both panels in this app are generated by A2UI, and both leverage the A2UI over MCP architecture, where A2UI payloads are retrieved directly from an MCP server, so something external. So they're receiving the payloads, like the data, from an external MCP server, so maybe like some sort of like recipe thing, right? And directly rendered with the A2UI framework. So is that an airplane or thunder? I think it's airplane. And so you're getting the data, and then the A2UI is then going to render the actual UI. All right. By leveraging the A2UI framework for rendering the UI, the host application does not have to maintain any UI component logic while maintaining a design consistency by simply applying its own theming to the A2UI components. All right, so A2UI comes with its own components. Like I said, I think Copilot Kit, I think, like created them or something. So that way you don't have to worry about it. Then you can just like theme it. So here we go. So all this is A2UI. So this here, all is done with A2UI, right? And then you select the different kinds, and then it goes to an MCP server and comes back with the data, and then the A2UI decides on how it wants to load it. And so like with all the different, like how long it takes to cook, the prepping, how many it serves, the stars, all that stuff. So all that is just data, but then it creates it. All right, that's cool. All right. And I think they have, can I actually, oh, okay. It's just to a GitHub repo. It doesn't actually, not like deployed or anything, but that's cool that they have actually like at least like a little recording that you can look here. All right. So under the hood, how it works, instead of an MCP server returning a standard text response or a bundled HTML/JS web app, so like for like if you're doing like MCP app or something, for an MCP server to return A2UI payloads, it returns a structured JSON payload with a specific meme type. Mime type? I don't know how you pronounce it. Application / A2UI JSON, which is what this looks like here. I don't know if you hear that, but the printer is like cleaning itself or something. All right, cool. So this is the JSON here. Okay. And then developers can leverage two distinct delivery mechanisms for this payload via MCP resources, the resources read, or through MCP tool invocation, so tools call. Okay. So regardless of the method, the endpoint utilizes the A2UI URI scheme. Upon receipt, an A2UI capable host environment automatically directs the JSON structure to its native rendering engine for execution. Interesting. So they have the two things here. So if you want to do, okay, cool. Read more about that. Oh, and this is a booking app or something. Okay. Okay. So understanding the difference, A2UI over MCP versus A2UI. Okay, yeah, there's the agent-to-agent protocol as well. So they talk about that there. Some more stuff you can do in there. All right, so here you go. So pattern 2, running MCP apps in A2UI components. All right, so while A2UI over MCP is ideal for native integration, sometimes you need the isolated, highly custom environment of an MCP app. You can achieve this by encapsulating an MCP app within an A2UI component without disrupting the host's native design system or security boundaries. By encapsulating an MCP app within an A2UI component, engineers can delegate complex, state-intensive modules to a safe, secure iframe for highly tailored experiences. All right. So give me an example. All right. See it in action. Below is a demo application that showcases the MCP app as an A2UI component. The server-side agent responds with an A2UI payload, all right, in which one of the components is an MCP app component. Oh, so they have an A2UI MCP app component whose input parameter includes the full code of a web-based Pong game. Okay. So the A2UI payload has the code for the web-based Pong game? The A2UI payload also includes 2 scorecards that are not part of the MCP app. Okay? When the user starts playing the Pong game against the CPU, the control of the paddle and the ball position states are governed by the code within the embedded MCP app, so within that web Pong app. Yet, whenever there is a score, this event is relayed. Oh, so it must have like an event that's sent out. This event is relayed to the agent, and the native A2UI components are rehydrated, so it's outside of it, with the updated score allowing state synchronization across all components. So the native A2UI, which is the scorecards, and the MCP app, which is the actual game. Interesting. In the A2UI surface, which is the whole thing. Yeah, okay, so yeah, so you see here A2UI native. Here's that. That's pretty cool. So yeah, so they're going to play the. So it looks like the JSON payload loads the whole game, like all the code for the game. So in that embedded MCP app A2UI component. So that loads all this, takes that in. And then it sends out an event that where the A2UI native scorecards can listen for, and then, like I said, rehydrate to show the actual things. That's interesting. Okay. That's pretty cool. And so, yeah, again, so this is like you're in your chat app. So you're like, hey, I want to play a game or whatever. And then you can, and then you can like ask quite interesting. Yeah. All right. Okay. So yeah, it took a second for it to update, but it did update. Okay. That's pretty cool. All right. Yes. All right. It's under you can check that out there. Okay, yeah. So there's the A2UI component that acts as a secure iframe wrapper. All right, referred to as MCP app component. Okay. So it's just like an iframe. All right. Cool. Now here we go. Now running A2UI inside an MCP app. So like the opposite. So this pattern serves as a powerful modernization bridge, allowing developers to inject dynamic agent-driven UIs into legacy applications or non-A2UI environments without requiring a complex architectural overhaul. Okay, I can see that. So in this pattern, the MCP app bundle contains its own A2UI renderer. Interesting. So the MCP app has A2UI in it. All right. So yeah, so I guess that way you don't have to worry about your application having to run A2UI. You just have the MCP app. So you don't have to you just create the MCP app to have the A2UI in it. And so to fetch the dynamic A2UI interfaces, the MCP app bridges a tool call to the server to retrieve the A2UI payload. All right. So leveraging the A2UI over MCP mechanics discussed earlier. So like we said before, okay. So once the A2UI JSON payload is received, the MCP app parses and renders them entirely within its own iframe boundary. Okay. By absorbing the generative UI complexity into its self-contained renderer, this pattern allows developers to bring dynamic AI-driven interactions to existing systems with minimal to no architectural overhaul. So again, so everything is all self-contained in that iframe MCP app. All right. Okay. That's cool. Let me see it in action. All right. So below is a demo application that showcases the A2UI embedded MCP app. All right. So the host app loads an MCP app. So kind of like how I had my charts app, right? That offers an online text editor retrieved from an MCP server. All right. The MCP app is packaged together with the A2UI library, which provides the capability to render A2UI JSON payload as UI. So that's what it does. By incorporating the A2UI over MCP technology discussed in pattern 1, so this is using that, all right, so based on that, the MCP app can effectively communicate with the MCP server to support generative UI via A2UI protocol. Woo, that's a lot. Okay, so in this demo, the user kicks off their AI-assisted text editing by highlighting a portion of the text. When the user highlights the text, the backend server takes the text as an argument to devise contextually relevant parameters for editing the text. These controls are served via A2UI, and the MCP app renders them on receiving this payload. So I'm assuming, so I guess you have your app here. So this is the MCP app. You know what I'm saying? Everything that's inside the yellow, right? And then it is, so you're loading it. Here's your iframe, right? All right, so then you highlight it. Oh, and it gives you information about it. And you can generate a revision. Oh, interesting. And all this, yeah, here's the A2UI generated sidebar. So all that, depending, the UI is generated based on that. Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, so I think that's what happened. Users can then adjust the parameters to direct the AI on how they want to edit the parts. When the user clicks on generate revision, where do they say that? Load the map, this thing here, AI is thinking, and then it'll generate the UI, generate revision, right? So when they click that, the AI agent will take these parameters into account and provide an edit suggestion to the user. All right. And so I think all of this, I think the AI thinking part is where it's going to make the call to the MCP server or what have you, or whatever it is, get the data back as A2UI JSON, and then that information comes back into your MCP app, and then it goes to the A2UI generative sidebar and creates the actual this UI here, including like the bar here, the drop down, all that is created by A2UI. So you don't have to do that. It's just using the components. That's pretty cool. And then, yeah, so then under the hood, Yeah, so this demo app has an AI agent sitting behind the MCP server, like I was saying. Okay. This allows the MCP tool calls to leverage LLM to produce context-relevant control patterns and text revisions from the provided arguments. Yeah, okay, so that's what I was kind of thinking. And so MCP editor, right. So I guess this is what would be in like your MCP app. There's a bridge. Okay. All right. So conclusion. Combining ATUI and MCP apps helps your agentic UIs remain secure, capable, and native feeling without sacrificing creative expressiveness. This unified approach allows you to bypass iframes when rendering UI with tools, the A2UI over MCP, display rich custom canvases inside the declarative view, so MCP apps in A2UI, and easily drop dynamic UIs into existing web apps, A2UI in MCP apps. So those are the three different ways there. And then they have the truth and right architectures. That's pretty cool. They have, the ways you could do it there, so you can choose like a matrix on how to choose it. That's pretty cool. And then to help you navigate this, use the decision tree below to help find optimal architecture for your project specific constraints and requirements. That's pretty cool. And they have this. That's pretty dope. All right. Yeah. So to get started, cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, so that gives me some more stuff to kind of think about and like how I want to work on some of this MCP stuff we've been working on. So yeah, shouts to all these folks. It's just another like way of thinking on how to be able to generate in your like chat AI applications or whatever, how to generate helpful like UI for people. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just like all text, it'd be nice to have buttons to click on things and forms and stuff like that and things you can drop down and charts and things. So that's pretty cool. So it's kind of interesting. So yeah, I kind of talked about this for a long time because I find this stuff interesting. It's kind of cool. You know what I mean? So you can just kind of like talk to things in your natural like language, right? And you don't have to worry about, oh wait, how do I navigate this UI that I'm seeing for the first time? You know what I mean? You can just talk to it naturally and it will figure out, all right, this is what you're asking for. Let me present everything that you need on how to work it out here. And so this stuff, like the web MCP stuff, I think could be really, really cool. Because imagine like if you combine this like web MCP and you're like, I don't know, like I always go back to like filling out forms for a doctor thing, right? And so you could just, I guess, come to a blank site, right? And then be like, the site could like, how are you feeling today? Or something like that. And you can say, well, I feel like this, blah, 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 whatever. And they can ask you like, what medications are you on? You can tell them the medications. And then it'd be able to kind of like create all the different UIs for you. So like fill out the form. It would show you like all your different medications with like pictures of the medications to make sure they're the right ones and everything. Make sure you didn't get anything mixed up. And it could like design like this whole thing for you. You know what I'm saying? And you can kind of make sure everything is right the way it is. And then all that information can be like distilled in a way that the doctor can then see it and like, okay, cool, and have everything there. You know what I'm saying? And so that way the doctor doesn't have to keep thinking about everything. Like you tell everything to the LLM and then the doctor sees it and then can like confirm things with you instead of like having the whole, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Stuff like that I think is pretty cool. So yeah. All right. So like I said, I've been talking a lot about this. Let me get y'all back to work so I can get back to work. Yeah. So I'm gonna send y'all off with some traveling music. This right here is an artist that goes by the name of Anthony Cruz, aka A Butter. The track's called Thank You. Thanks for hanging out. Again, see you like 15 minutes after the hour. Till then, I wish you much productivity. And we'll take a look at an artist's website, listen to music, watch some videos, maybe become a fan. All right. So this is Anthony Cruz, aka A Butter. Thank you. All right, y'all be easy. Peace.
I wanna say thank you for holding on when a brother was down and out. Now I feel so strong, and I wanna say thank you for being there when the brother had nowhere to turn to. You were there, and I feel like hell. And everybody says hell. We spread a love like hell. I wanna say thank you for holding on when a brother was down and out. Now I feel so strong, and I wanna say thank you for being there nowhere to turn to. You were